It is a brand new year. We are in 2017, so that means everybody's been seeing a whole slew of 2016 wrap-up videos, and now I'm here to contribute to that because I'm going to be telling you guys some of my favorite books from 2016. Hello everyone, it is Samantha and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Today I am here to share with you guys my top 10 favorite books from 2016. We are in a brand new year, we are in 2017. I really love 7, so I'm really hoping that 2017 is going to be an amazing year because of that, so I'm crossing my fingers. And I'm hoping that I will read just as many amazing books as I read last year this year. But instead we are going to shift gears and focus instead on the past, so 2016. And let's start on my top favorite books of 2016. I will in fact be starting with my least favorite of my favorites all the way up to number 1, which is like my all-time favorite book from last year. So let's start. Coming in at number 10 is Mel Scar by David Peterson. This is in fact a graphic novel. It's a fantasy graphic novel featuring mice as knights and protectors of the land. It's a beautifully illustrated graphic novel. They actually have a coloring book now, in fact, based upon the graphic novels. And I really like this one. I was only ever able to get to the first volume, which is Fall of 1152, and I still need to get the other volumes, but it was a really enjoyable story. I really liked seeing the cute little mice acting like medieval knights. I don't know, it was just a very fun story and one that I really enjoyed. Coming in at number 9 is actually a book that I own, but it is buried under a bunch of other books, so I'm too lazy to get it out. Sorry guys, so instead you are getting a picture of it. But it is Dancer's Lament by E.N.C. Esslemont. This is part of the Mullet world. In case you guys are not familiar, the Mullet Book of the Fallen is a massive fantasy series that was done by David Erickson and E.N.C. Esslemont. It was based upon a fantasy game that they created, but they created a whole world around it, and it's very rich and detailed, and they both written novels set in this world. This one is actually the start of a prequel series, which so is supposed to be before the events of Mullet Book of the Fallen, so like Gardens of the Moon, all of those books. And to be honest, I actually really enjoyed it. I've only read Gardens of the Moon so far, but I actually liked this book better than Gardens of the Moon, and I don't know if it's just because I'm still getting used to Erickson's writing or if I just prefer E.N.C. Esslemont's writing, but it's definitely a very interesting story. It features 2 of the main characters in the Gardens of the Moon and the rest of that series. And it follows 2 of these characters that end up becoming kind of gods, basically. There's different houses of gods in the Mullet world, and it features these 2 characters and how they entered those houses. So they're still humans, basically. So it's a really interesting story and one that I really enjoyed. I thought it was pretty fast-paced and fun. It's kind of an assassin thief story, and I just really enjoyed it. So this comes in at number 9. Coming in at number 8 is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I actually have a full review and discussion on this book, which I'll link down below. I read this back in October, November, and I ended up really enjoying it. I'm surprised it took me this long to actually read it, but I really thought it was a great novel. It's a lot different than any other movie version of this book you have ever seen. The story itself is actually quite different, and I really enjoyed it. It definitely follows Frankenstein and his creation of the monster, as well as the monster's story and what happened to him after he parted ways with Frankenstein, and just kind of how their lives are intertwined and how this one event kind of shaped the entire fate of their own course of life. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a very poignant novel. I think that it really dealt a lot with human nature and kind of what shapes us and our personalities and how we kind of end up being the people that we are. So I really enjoyed this one very much, and of course it's coming in at number 8. Number 7 is another book that I do actually own a physical copy, but again, it is not really buried on my bookcase, but it's on the top shelf, and I was too lazy to get a ladder, so sorry guys. But that book is The Caller by Juliet Marillier. I love Juliet Marillier. She is one of my all-time favorite authors, as many of you guys may know if you follow my channel for any length of time. The Caller is actually the 3rd book in the Shadowfell trilogy by her, which is actually one of her YA trilogies, but I absolutely love this book. The story is set in the country of Alban, which is very reminiscent of ancient Ireland, which a lot of Juliet Marillier's works actually take place in, and it features our main protagonist of Naren, and Naren has the ability to call the Fae folk. There are many magical abilities, but all the people with magic abilities are actually oppressed by the king of Alban, and Naren ends up joining the Shadowfell rebels as they try to free the land from the evil tyranny of this king by uniting the humans and the Fae folk with Naren's ability. I actually really enjoyed this book. I love Juliet Marillier's way of telling stories. She's very lyrical and vivid in her telling, and I really love the characters that she creates in her stories. It's a really enjoyable one. It's definitely one of my new favorite series series by her, and this one itself comes in at number 7. Now I was trying not to include many rereads on this list, but there is one reread that I did this year that I have to include because I just forgot how much I loved it. And so coming in at number 6 is Anne's House of Dreams by Ellen Montgomery. This is book 5 in the Anne series and hands down my favorite in the series. I had forgotten a lot of the details with this particular book because it's been many, many years since I reread the whole series. I think I last reread the Anne series when I was in high school. So about 12 years ago was when I last read this series. So I forgot just how much I love this one. I absolutely adore it. So of course in this book, Anne is now an adult. She's roughly about my age. I think she's about 27, 28 when this story starts. And I absolutely loved it. I love all of the side characters. I love Anne herself as she starts out in her life with Gilbert. And it's just a really, really lovely story and one that made me really happy while I was reading it. And I just forgot how much I loved it. So I had to include it on this list. Coming in at number 5 is American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Again, I own this one, but I actually can't find it. I'm not sure what I did with it. I need to find it soon. But I love this book, and I'm a little bit bummed. I actually had a review that I filmed of this book, and I deleted it, so I might end up trying to refilm that review. We shall see. But the story itself I really enjoyed. I know that American Gods is one of Neil Gaiman's more polarizing works. People either seem to love it or hate it, including hardcore Neil Gaiman fans. But I myself really, really enjoyed this book. It features the American pantheon of gods. And so you have many, many different gods from many, many different cultures. All of the different peoples that have come to this country brought their gods with them. So you have the old gods from the ancient lands and from other countries warring with the new gods of the new era. So you have gods of the internet, gods of the TV, gods of the mall, and the new gods are fighting with the old gods. And Shadow, our main character, is caught in the middle of this. He is being torn by both sides, trying to use him against the other, and you kind of try to see where his role is in this whole story. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely a very interesting book at times. Like I found with some of Neil Gaiman's writing, it can read a little bit like a weird fever dream, but itself, I really enjoyed the story. I thought it really had an interesting plot with a lot of twists and turns. And I'm very excited to see how Starz will be handling the show, because this will be a show come spring, and Neil Gaiman is one of the writers. So it'll be interesting to see if he strays from his book or if he'll add new twists to it, but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing. But regardless, I really enjoyed this one, and so it ended up at number 5 on my list of 2016 books. Coming in at number 4 is The Raven King by Maggie Steifvater. This is the final book in the Raven cycle by her. I really enjoyed the whole series, but I particularly really enjoyed this one. I really like how she ended the story and how all of the different plot lines came together in one. I really liked it a lot. I really like her way of telling stories. I like how lyrical she is in her writing. Sometimes the narration style kind of reminds me a little bit of the old ballads from like the Middle Ages, a few that I have read. Just the way that the story is told, and which makes sense given the plot of the story is featuring trying to find the burial of a medieval king, so it definitely fits, that's for sure. But I really enjoyed this book, and I really enjoyed how this one tied up the whole series, and it was one that I really enjoyed. Hence, its number 4 spot on this list. We are now heading into my top 3 books of 2016. So number 3 is Tennant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Bronte. This is another one that I did a whole review and discussion on, which I'll link below if you guys are curious to see it. But needless to say, I absolutely love this book. This one definitely surpassed Jane Eyre as my favorite Bronte work. Anne Bronte just has a wonderful, wonderful way of telling a story. I can definitely see why this is considered one of the first feminist novels. It deals with a lot of feminist issues. It's particularly surprising given the time in which it was written, but it's amazing. I absolutely loved it so much. I just loved it. I loved it. It was amazing. I cannot sing its praises enough. If you have not checked it out yet, I highly recommend that you do so. I was pleasantly surprised by it. I wasn't really sure what to expect going into it. Her main character, Helen, is a very strong character who is not afraid to do what she believes to be right and to go out and forge her own path in life despite the protocol of the time. And I really thought it was an excellent novel and one that I look forward to rereading in future years. Coming in at number 2 is The Red Knight by Miles Cameron. This is the first book in the Soldier Son trilogy. I love this book. This is another one that I have a review of that I will link below, but I absolutely adored it. It's a fantasy novel, of course, but it has a lot of Arthurian elements, which I absolutely adored. It kind of takes place in Germany, basically. I'm still not quite clear if it's actually supposed to take place in our world, a version of our world, or its own world, but it definitely has a lot of Germanic, French, English undertones to it, and it has a lot of Arthurian elements to it, which I go into more in my review. But I really like the story. Again, it kind of reads to me a little bit like an old epic medieval story. story, which I really enjoyed, but the story itself was fascinating. It had a lot of twists and turns that I wasn't expecting. Plus his use of mind palaces in this book, as you guys may know from Sherlock himself uses one, is really ingenious, and it kind of is interwoven with the magic system, which I thought was a pretty cool way to kind of weave the two together. So I really enjoyed this one, hence its number 2 spot on my list. And coming in at number 1 as my most favorite book from 2016 is also from one of my new favorite authors, and that is Saint Splode by Sebastien de Castell, the 3rd book in the Great Coat series. I have in fact reviewed this series and the author, and I'll leave that down below as well, but needless to say, I enjoyed this book. It's a wonderful fantasy story that kind of melds the Three Musketeers with the Lives of La Camorra with its own twists and turns, and I really liked it. Sebastien de Castell's writing is both humorous as well as heart-wrenching at times, and I absolutely enjoyed the mix because I always like a little bit of humor in my books, but he's definitely one of my favorite authors because he's able to create a fast-paced story, and the way that he has a bunch of different little surprises sneak up on you without even being aware until it happens, and you're like, oh, I didn't even see that coming. It was just pure genius, and I absolutely enjoyed it. This is the 3rd book, and I have to say the events that occurred in this book were pretty surprising and shocking, and I absolutely loved it. So that is the reason why this book became my favorite book of 2016. Alright guys, those are all of my favorite books from 2016. You'll have to let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought of them, or what your favorite book was of 2016, because I'd be curious to know, because maybe I should pick it up myself if I haven't done so already. Alright guys, that's it for today's video. I hope you all have a wonderful week, and thank you so much for watching. Until next time guys, happy reading. Bye! So I took a break after Vlogmas from filming videos, but I definitely missed it. So I'm definitely in the filming groove, and I'm kind of enjoying it. So I hope you guys will enjoy all the videos I'm filming too. And be sure if you guys would like to see more videos to click the subscribe button down below and hit the little bell notification button if you want to be notified when I post new videos, because YouTube has been having issues sending videos to subscription feeds. Oh YouTube, I wish you'd fix that.